The word innovation is used a lot, and everyone seems to have stories about it. For me, one of the most important stories I've had about innovation is a failure. I remember a friend of the family who was an architect, and he had made it his life mission years ago. This is maybe 10, 15 years ago, to when I talked to him. And what he had wanted to do was create homes that were energy self-sufficient. And his way of doing that was to create this roofing system which had photovoltaic cells, but underneath it was this elaborate system of micro turbines. And essentially what would happen is the wind would, the air would be sucked through this layer underneath the roofing. And in addition to the solar energy, you'd get this little wind energy. And the math was such that you could pretty much fuel the energy needs of a typical home in a relatively sunny climate like Australia. Now, this genius was just about 2 decades ahead of his time, and he tried for I think about 15 years to commercialize this technology, and there were a lot of false starts. There was an attempt with British Steel. There was various other things, and he didn't get to see the success of this brilliant contribution that he had made to the world because it just didn't get commercialized. Now, the reason I like to tell that story is that innovation is a contact sport, and it's not about the idea. It's about getting the idea picked up and developed and commercialized, and that is where a lot of the difficulty lies. I'm chairman of a company called EMU, and EMU Technologies is really in the business of preventing identity theft. And the way we do that is through really interesting technology that was developed out of Adelaide, which we have embedded into credit cards and phones. And what we do is a process called two-way authentication. Before you give your details to anyone pretending to be a bank, they have to prove to you first that they're the bank. And then when they've proved to you that they're the bank, it's okay for you to prove to them you are who you are. Now, it sounds like a relatively simple thing, but our patents really protect this idea that individuals should not be giving information away until they know they're talking to a reliable source, and that can really change the game when it comes to identity protection. Now, brilliant idea, and when the folks who were the founders of this company had this idea several years ago, they were really obsessed with the idea of this credit card, to base this technology into a credit card. And we have done that. But one of the amazing things in the process of commercializing this technology is the recognition we had that what we wanted to do was be a software company. It wasn't that important that it could go into a credit card. In fact, there's dozens of form factors where this technology can apply, and people have lots of preferences. Some people prefer clamshells, some people prefer to use their phones. The important thing is the stuff in the back. And somewhere along the line, we learned enough from the market to be able to shift the strategy of EMU from being a product company to being a software company. And that has made all the difference in our partnership with Visa to be able to take this product to market in Europe with a number of banks, as well as in Australia. And it's allowed us to be on the frontier, the first company that's introduced authentication software for the iPhone and various other phone models. And by focusing on a new strategy, we were able to get that bridge and commercialize things. So I think innovation is not just about having the interesting insight that's new to the world. It's about figuring out what is the innovative business model that is going to make sense so that this thing can actually see the light of day in a commercial sense.